Hello, dear friends. Today, I want to talk to you about a topic that deeply touches many of us. Isolation. Have you ever felt alone? As if you were distanced from people and environments that used to be part of your life? Sometimes it seems like doors are closing, that you are no longer invited to certain things, and suddenly you feel invisible. If this is happening to you, I want you to know that you are not being forgotten. You are being chosen. When God isolates someone, it is not to destroy but to transform. He does not hide someone without reason. When God does this, it is because a great revelation is about to happen. Often, isolation is a sign that something greater is coming. It is a time of preparation, protection, and empowerment. Today, we will explore together the 7 reasons why God isolates the chosen. If you have ever felt this way, know that this journey of isolation has a purpose. God is working in you, shaping your character, and preparing your heart for what is to come. Each of us has a special calling, and isolation can be an essential part of that process. Before we continue, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. This way, you won't miss any important messages and can keep up with everything we have prepared for you. Stay with me because next we will discover the 7 reasons why God isolates the chosen. Are you ready for this journey? Let's go together. The first reason why God isolates the chosen is to protect you. Many times we have the desire to be in places that seem good, to be part of groups, and to connect with people we admire. However, what you do not see, God sees. He has a broader and deeper vision of reality and knows what is hidden beneath the surface. There are people and environments that, at first glance, seem harmless or even attractive, but may be contaminated by negative intentions or harmful energies. God, in His infinite wisdom, keeps you away from those places that may threaten your faith, your purpose, and even your mental and emotional health. Sometimes what seems to be rejection or distancing is, in fact, a form of divine protection. It is important to remember that not everyone who approaches you has good intentions. Often, danger disguises itself as friendship. There may be people who, although they seem friendly, are not truly interested in your well-being. They may bring doubts, insecurities, or even try to divert you from your path. God, in His goodness, hides you to protect you from these negative influences. If you feel distanced from someone or somewhere, do not insist. It may be that God is saving you from something you cannot even imagine. Sometimes, the pain of isolation can be hard to bear, but it is essential to trust in divine protection. God knows what is best for you, and even if we do not understand the reason for certain separations, it is important to believe that He is taking care of us. This time of isolation can be challenging, but it is also an opportunity to reflect on what truly matters in your life. It is a moment to reconnect with yourself and with God, to strengthen your faith and discernment. When you distance yourself from unhealthy environments and people, you make room for God to bring new opportunities and relationships that will truly add to your life. Therefore, if you are going through this process, remember that it is protection. Trust that God is working in you and around you, preparing the way for something greater and better. The second reason why God isolates the chosen is that He is preparing you for something greater. Each person chosen by God goes through a preparation process that is essential for fulfilling their purpose. Before God shows you to the world, He needs to work on you behind the scenes, shaping your character and strengthening your faith. Let's look at the story of David. Even after defeating Goliath, a feat that put him in the spotlight, David did not immediately go to the throne. He had to face deserts, flee from Saul, and learn to lead difficult men. This period of difficulties and challenges was essential for David to become the king that God had planned. He not only needed to develop leadership skills but also learn to trust God in the midst of adversity. Just like David, you may be going through a time of isolation that feels difficult and lonely, but it is important to understand that this time is not in vain. God is preparing you for the next phase of your life. He is shaping you, removing what does not serve you, and placing in you what will be essential for your mission. This process may include the development of patience, resilience, and wisdom skills that will be crucial when you are called to lead or face new challenges. Many times we want to be promoted quickly, but God does not promote those who are not ready. The time of isolation is, in fact, a time of preparation. It is a moment when you can deepen your faith, seek God, and better understand your purpose. Do not skip this preparation process, as it is essential for your destiny. Every challenge you face, every moment of loneliness, is shaping you to become the person God wants you to be. Therefore, if you feel isolated, remember that this may be a sign that God is working in you. Trust that He is preparing something incredible for your life. This time of waiting and preparation is an opportunity to grow and strengthen yourself so that, when the right moment comes, you will be ready to shine and fulfill the purpose that God has for you. The third reason why God isolates the chosen is to empower you. Have you noticed that often isolation comes with challenges? God allows you to face these difficulties to prepare and teach you. It is in these moments of solitude that you discover abilities you didn't know you had. Look at the story of David again. Before becoming king, he had to learn to lead men who were considered outcasts by society. These men, who faced their own struggles and challenges, became his loyal soldiers. This leadership process was not easy, but it was essential for David's training. He learned to deal with difficult people, to understand their weaknesses, and to guide them toward a greater purpose. Isolation is a time of learning. It is when you are challenged to develop patience, faith, resilience, and wisdom. God wants you to learn to deal with rejection and criticism because, in the future, you will need these skills to exercise the leadership He has already prepared for you. Every challenge you face in isolation is an opportunity for growth. It is a moment when you can strengthen yourself and prepare for what is to come. It is important to remember that God hides those He will reveal at the right time. When the moment comes, there will be no opposing force that can prevent your manifestation. This hiding is a preparation for what is to come. While you are in a period of invisibility, God is working in you, shaping your character, and strengthening your faith so that you are ready for what He has in store. Trust in God's hiding place. He knows exactly when and how to show you to the world. This time of concealment may be challenging, but it is essential for your protection and the fulfillment of your purpose. When God decides to reveal a chosen one, it is in such a powerful way that everyone will realize it was He who did it. Therefore, if you feel hidden or ignored, know that this is part of God's plan. He is taking care of you, preparing the stage so that when the time comes, you will be ready. You can shine and fulfill the purpose He has for your life. Trust this process and keep your faith, for the time of revelation will come, and you will be ready to embrace all that God has prepared for you. The seventh and final reason why God isolates the chosen is to elevate you. Before God elevates someone, He first hides them. This process of concealment is an essential preparation. A clear example of this is the story of Joseph. He was isolated by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, and later imprisoned. Each of these difficult experiences was part of God's plan. When the right moment came, God revealed Joseph to the world, placing him as governor of Egypt. Just as it happened with Joseph, God is also hiding you today. But this is not a sign of failure or rejection. It is a sign that soon He will show you to the world. When God decides to reveal a chosen one, there is no force that can prevent that revelation. It is a moment when everyone realizes that it was God who did it. The isolation you may be facing now is, in fact, an announcement that a new phase is about to begin. If you feel hidden, if you have the impression that no one sees you or recognizes your worth, know that this may be the greatest sign that God is about to reveal you. This time of preparation and concealment is crucial for you to be ready for the greatness that is to come. God is shaping you, strengthening your faith, and preparing your heart for what He has in store. Therefore, do not be discouraged during this period of isolation. Instead, see it as an opportunity for growth and preparation. Trust that God is working in you and that when the right moment comes, He will elevate you in a way that everyone will be able to see. Your time of revelation is coming, and you will be ready to embrace all that God has prepared for your life. Remember, isolation is just a part of the process, and elevation is the promise that God has for you. In fact, in the Bible, we find several examples of people chosen by God who went through periods of isolation, each with a greater purpose. These moments of solitude were not in vain. They were fundamental for spiritual development and for the fulfillment of the divine plan. Let's explore 5 of these examples and the lessons we can learn from them. Moses is one of the most emblematic characters in the Bible. After being raised in Pharaoh's court, he fled to the desert after killing an Egyptian who was mistreating a Hebrew. For 40 years, Moses lived in isolation, tending sheep and distancing himself from the life he knew. This period of solitude was crucial for his formation. God called him from the burning bush and prepared him to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Moses' isolation taught him to depend on God and to develop leadership skills that would be essential for guiding the Hebrew people on their journey. And what is the lesson from Moses? Sometimes, isolation is necessary for us to prepare for what God has in store for us. It is a time of learning and growth. The prophet Elijah also went through a period of isolation. After confronting the prophets of Baal and fleeing from Queen Jezebel, he withdrew to the desert, where he felt alone and discouraged. God found him there and fed him with bread and water, strengthening him for the journey that lay ahead. During this time, Elijah had a profound encounter with God, who did not manifest in great events but in a gentle whisper. This moment of solitude was essential for restoring his faith and preparing him to continue his ministry. His lesson was that isolation can be a time of spiritual renewal. It is a moment when we can hear God's voice more clearly, away from the distractions of the world. Jesus also went through periods of isolation, the most notable being the 40 days he spent in the desert, where he was tempted by the devil. This time of solitude was a preparation for his ministry. During those days, he dedicated himself to prayer and fasting, strengthening his connection with the Father. Jesus' isolation not only prepared him to face temptations, but also empowered him to fulfill his mission of saving humanity. The lesson from Jesus is clear. Isolation can be a time of intense preparation. When we distance ourselves from distractions, we can focus on our relationship with God and prepare for the challenges to come. Another example is the Apostle Paul, who, after his conversion, went through a period of isolation in the Arabian desert. For 3 years, he withdrew from public life to deepen his faith and better understand the gospel he had received. This time was crucial for Paul to prepare for his mission of preaching to the Gentiles. He returned stronger and with a deeper understanding of what it meant to be a follower of Christ. His isolation was a time of reflection and learning. Sometimes we need to step back to better understand our purpose and the direction God wants us to take. Joseph, the son of Jacob, also went through a long period of isolation and suffering. Sold as a slave by his brothers, he was taken to Egypt, where he faced many adversities, including imprisonment. However, each of these experiences prepared him for the moment when God elevated him to the position of governor of Egypt. Joseph learned to trust God in the midst of difficulties, and when he was finally revealed to the world, he was ready to fulfill the purpose that God had for his life. Isolation and difficulties can be part of the preparation process for something greater. God uses these experiences to shape our character and prepare us for what is to come. These biblical examples show us that isolation, although often painful and challenging, can be a time of great growth and preparation. God uses these periods to mold us, teach us to trust in Him, and prepare us for the plans He has for us. When we feel isolated, it is important to remember that God is working in us, preparing us for the next phase of our lives. Therefore, if you are going through a moment of isolation, do not be discouraged. See it as an opportunity for growth and preparation. Trust that God is by your side, shaping you for the purpose He has reserved for you. Isolation may be a sign that something great is coming, and when the right moment arrives, you will be ready to shine and fulfill God's calling in your life. If you understand the purpose of your isolation, I invite you to declare it out loud or write it here in the comments.